Brian Southall, the curse of Brian Southall. The Southall curse first entered the Trios world. We met him on Warped Tour '05 when he was playing drums for Boys Night Out. We had him come out and tour manage us and do lights on the Sucker Survive tour. He slowly started pulling out his guitar backstage and in the hotel rooms, trying to prove to us that he could shred.
I didn't know Brian was so talented until, like, you know, on that tour he was just playing guitar and playing drums and just coming up with melodies left and right.
We had a couple other people that were really close to joining the band, and ended up just getting Brian through like nepotism. He was our tour manager, and we had no guitar player and he could play guitar, and it was like, let's just ask Brian to join the band. We get along with him. And that was it. That was really the only thought. I don't think we had even heard him play guitar. He just said he was good.
I just found it.
Yeah.
I think that Brian was an amazing fit for the band for the music. They made a decision not to be a 3-singer band, so that's not Brian's fault. And I think a lot of kids missed that, you know, and I think even they and I missed the 3-singer thing. So I think Brian's a great fit, but he was not a replacement for Casey. He didn't fill those shoes. The band just morphed into something else. So what they morphed into, I was like super excited about, because they turned more experimental and more, you know, it was less like, here's a banging, like, you know, sort of screamo part. It was more just like, here's something that I've never heard before. You know, this is crazy.
Okay. Hello there. We are at SOMD Studios, Beltsville, Maryland. Just wrapping up our new record, The Earth Sings Me Fa Me.
You want to do first verse? Yeah, sweet. Let me see what you got.
I've got this little itch that I never learned to scratch. It seems that even if I'd rather this than not. When the pleasure is the lesson, it's giving to the pressure.
How's it going so far?
Well, I'm fucking crazy as hell right now, but it's good.
Tracked all night, wrote 2 songs, wrote 4 killer choruses. Brian, how many choruses do you have on the record?
I think more than you. That's all that really matters.
It's tough for a lot of bands, I'd say all bands, releasing a second record, because people feel like, you know, that first record, if they're a fan, that's the record they got attached to, and you'll never be able to top that record. And that's the case with, you know, so many bands. It's just like, you know, everyone loves that first record, and it's hard to accept that second record, and definitely hard to say that second one's better than the first.
I have so many tracks on this record that the songs won't play.
Really? What, they don't render or something?
I have to mute. You can only do 64 tracks on Pro Tools, so or on this Pro Tools rig. So I have to, when I'm doing guitars, I mute the vocals. When I'm doing vocals, I mute the guitars. I'll figure it out later. I have to mix it at some point.
It was a very scary time because it was our second record without Casey, or it was our first record without Casey, second record that we put out, and just wanted to see how people responded to it. And as we were writing the songs, going back to the Llama Farm, like hearing the songs that we were writing and coming up with, as opposed to Between the Heart and the Synapse, was, some would say, kind of completely different. Even I would say it's completely different, but like we're still the same people, just writing music at a different kind of maturity level.
Cool.
All this is yours. that even if I had, I'd rather itch than not. When the pleasure is the lesser, and it's giving to the pressure of an ever-growing lust, and an always present want.
It's very talented that you can drop down like that.
Oh yeah?
I'm really impressed.
I was sleeping on the couch in the live room at Salad Days, and one night I fell asleep, and it was pretty early. It was like around 11 or 12. The video is evidence enough of them being like, we're going in there, we're gonna get Snake, because that was my nickname, Snake Man. One, my terrible fear of snakes, real snakes. And two, I guess a lot of people thought I moved like a snake on stage, so whatever.
The Earth Sings Me Fa Me was a pretty big departure for the band, as people can realize the second they hear it. You know, I have friends that admit to me now, Texas Alex, I'm looking at you, that say, you know, when I first heard this record, I hated it, you know, and that's understandable. I mean, it's a big change, but for us, we were writing a record to make us happy, you know? We wanted to make music that we sincerely loved. We didn't want to make music to fit a trend. Like, in retrospect, if we wanted to be a career band and wanted to sell 100,000 records instead of 30 or however many we sold on the first record, like, we could have done things differently. We could have kept the screaming parts and the double bass parts in there and wrote 3 more Planning of Prison Breaks and stuff, but it wasn't what we wanted to do.
The struggle was, how do we now redefine the band, you know, and at the same time hold on to what they had built, you know, hold on to the following. Because the kids who like Trios were you know, smart and were into the fact that the band was brilliant, you know, so it has to stay high art, you know, without without copying themselves.
You know, I think all around everyone was really happy with what we did. And when I listen to it now, like, I absolutely love the album. I think it's great. I'm so proud of it. I feel like the songs are great. But I can definitely look at it from an outsider and say, like, what Between the Hat and the Synapse was, like, this record is nowhere, it's not even close. It's completely different, you know? I feel like it's a whole new vibe and it's just a different kind of thing. But there, you know, the people that liked it, loved it, and that, I think, made us really happy.
Yeah, I think it was like an empowering time when we made the second record for everyone, because it felt like we were reclaiming what was ours and being like, all right, let's make a statement with this record. We all thought it was awesome. We were really proud of it. And, you know, the first week sales were great for us, and we actually made the Billboard Top 200, which we never thought we'd do. And then all the people that bought it took it home, listened to it, and were a little confused. And didn't tell as many of their friends to buy it, I presume. But, you know, like I said, we made the record we wanted to make at that time, and it was for no other reason than wanting to make music that we loved. And, you know, we could have done things differently, but in the end, is it really worth it, you know, to succumb to a trend, to sell a few more records? No, definitely not.
I think genuinely I like the second record more, maybe because it's closer to me as a person, where I am now, and what I was going through then is closer to me than where I was when I was 18 or 19 years old. However, I think maybe we definitely sort of abandoned certain staples of our band, which was like the energy of the music, and that's something I would have loved to hear how if we mixed the energy and the upbeat music from the first record and really like the spacey, sort of more in-depth music of the second record and made a third record what it would have sounded like, I think it would have been pretty cool.
Let's talk about Parker's birth and you guys deciding to call it quits and why that happened and, you know, kind of the events surrounding that. Start from the beginning, you don't have to answer the question.
I don't know. I don't know. I might pass. I mean, it's just tough, dude. There's a lot of things I really can't talk about that, you know, it'd be tough. I don't know how to answer that question without, I don't know. Pass. I'm sorry. It's tough, dude. I mean, it's more than that. I mean, I'll try. I can give you a bullshit answer, but it's not going to be.
Well,
I remember getting a call from Brendan maybe a couple weeks after we got done with just a small run of shows in New England, which went really well. Everyone was really happy with them. Turnouts are great, and we had a really good time with each other. But, you know, he was basically, you know, saying that, listen, I don't know if we keep doing this, I don't know how I'll be able to, you know, justify it. I mean, I've got to support my family. I have a baby on the way.
I understood his reasoning, obviously, you know, hey, I'm having a baby, like, I can't go on tour all the time, like, totally. If that was me, I would have probably done the same thing. It just sucked because I feel like we still had so much to do and say, and, you know, the third record is like the make or break record for any band, and I really feel like we learned so much touring off Me Fa Me, and we learned about all the mistakes we made, I think, and the third record would have been the time for us to combine the first and the second, and the things that we knew were really special about our band after putting out two extremes, and we would have combined them into something great.
He just thought that with like, it was the right time for everyone to kind of disband, and because we didn't really have anything set besides Australia, and that was in February, like the middle of February, so yeah, man, Parker was born. Like, that's still a really happy day in my life. As far as like my first like best friend having a child, like, you know, like, wow, I can't wait for that moment. You know what I mean? For my own life, let alone like it was my friend's first child. That and by no means is Parker like the epicenter of why we broke up in any way. It was one of the factors. But like when he grows up, I'll never be like, yo, you broke up my band, dude. Like,
everyone understood. So that was really great to have that support. Didn't mean that they were happy or that's what they wanted to do, but they understood what I had to do. And that goes back not because we were a band or a business, but because we were friends. So they knew that. They knew my family. They knew my morals and what I had to do. So they supported it, although I think it made sense to some people and not so much sense to other people, you know, and that was really hard because my life was now sort of dictating other people's lives, and I don't like that. So it was tough, and then, you know, the fan reaction was definitely, you know, mixed, but I think for the most part it was really support. You know, there was a lot of support behind what the decision was that we had made. I think people understood for the most part that like I was about to be a dad and that's what I needed to do. And other people maybe didn't understand. That's fine, because they wanted more music, and I think so did I, so I understand that too.
You know, it just happened, and that was that, and we rolled with the punches and we dealt with it. And then after we knew we were breaking up, we had one more tour to do, which was Soundwave in Australia, which, you know, I was talking about this the other night with Kevin from Cartel, just reminiscing about how it was one of, you know, the most fun things I've ever done in my life.
And we'd had the offer to do Soundwave in Australia, so we just kind of decided, well, this would be a great thing to do. Like, this would be fun for all of us. Let's do this, call it a day. You know, we'll do some last shows. We didn't discuss really when, but it was like, you know, we'll finish it up, and, you know, let's have a good time with it.
I think at the core of it, there's a humanness to the band. It's so funny because there's all this crazy shit going on all the time. But like, this is a story of a friendship of guys that grew up together that really like making music together and writing songs together, and their families are all friends, you know, and there's this community aspect to it, and I feel like that story rings through the whole thing.
It wasn't a pop band or a song band or like a hook band, you know, it was a band that had all of those things naturally, which is just such a hard thing to find.
They made 2 amazing records, and I think they both really have their place in, you know, in these genres, in this part of, you know, this history of music, this time period. But I feel like they were cut short. You know, I think that personalities, you know, factors beyond their control, more or less, kind of just friction, kind of broke the band apart before they were really done.
Oh, how I've been teething in light of your misleading. You caused this collapse between the heart and the synapse. Oh, how I've been teething in light of your misleading. You caused this collapse between the heart and the synapse. Oh, how I've been teething in light of your misleading. You caused this collapse between the heart and the synapse. Oh, how I've been teething in light of your misleading. You caused this collapse between the heart and the synapse. Oh, how I've been teething in light of your misleading. You caused this collapse between the heart and the synapse.
That's the artistic shot right there. That's the Calvin Klein commercial.